with the Sykkuno controversy. I'm hoping this is the final video, but for some reason, Andrew Esquire, Legal Mindset, is now weighing in on Sykkuno, saying that we are now in a legally dangerous situation. Let's see what the greatest YouTuber on this platform has to say. Let's talk about it.
Sykkuno is in hot water after a Google drop,
And he does know how to swim.
and a coordinated hit piece drops on him regarding his labeling as
True.
a predator for his behavior.
True.
Explaining today how the use of the word predator is dangerous legally and potentially defamatory.
Is Mujin gonna get fucking sued? Oh my God. Are Mujin and a bunch of desperate, thirsty VTuber hoes about to get sued? No way.
Of course, I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney, and this is a Legal Mindset where we teach you to be your own judge. And this is a Fast Facts video, the
Holy
quick and dirty
shit.
version of the latest in legal news. So our defendant today is Sykkuno, a very large YouTuber, and the plaintiffs, the people making the accusations in this case, are several VTubers and
Oh my God. If Mujin, Bao, and all these people get sued because they were intentionally malicious and used the word predator and then doubled down and said, well, I wasn't using that version of predator. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, of course you weren't.
their kind of allies, Himamal, Elf-Elia, Bao, and
Insane.
Mujin. And all of these folks put together have applied that predator label to Sykkuno, and that's why we're here today to talk about this. So obviously, our Exhibit A is going to be the
Now, I highly doubt Sykkuno would sue, but knowing if he has the ability to is hilarious.
document, the Google Doc. If you've been around in the VTuber world as long as I have, you know that many times these accusations and problems come in the form of Google documents.
You know what really spoke volumes is how Bao and Mujin have not apologized still for their use of the word predator and have tripled down on it. All of them have tripled down on that word predator. That is horrifying. And if that doesn't show you the lengths that these people will go to get clicks, I don't know what will.
And I've long said that Google documents carry so much less than actually going out and filing a police report or filing some sort of lawsuit or legal action. Unless you've got evidence that is substantial enough to bring to court to charge somebody with, there's certain labels and applications that are inappropriate. And I think in this case, using the word predator is one of those things. So to give some background here, Sykkuno is very large. He has 2.6 million subscribers on YouTube, and that's part of what is being used against him.
Yep.
Part of the argument here is, as a large content creator,
You can't talk to anyone or have sex with anyone unless they have the same viewer count. So by that logic, I don't believe I would be able to have sex with any human being on the entire planet because I'm a YouTuber. Yeah, any girl I meet off the street, off TikTok, you know, at my local game stores, I can't talk to any of them because of the power imbalance. It's the most bullshit argument I've ever heard of.
you somehow have more agency and power than a smaller content creator. Now, for me, this
Smaller content creators have more power because they have less to lose, whereas larger content creators have everything to lose. The power balance is actually reversed, and people need to acknowledge that. And people aren't ready for that. People are not ready for that conversation.
is kind of a ridiculous argument, as once again, that we're all human beings. We all have our own agency and ability, regardless of whether you have 1 subscriber, 0, no YouTube channel at all. You are a person with the ability to make your own decisions. And these individuals, VTubers Himamal and Elf-Elia, were romanced as effectively side chicks by Sykkuno, as is detailed in that Google Doc, while he was in a relationship. Now, make no mistake, this is scummy behavior. It's dishonest. It's
Yes.
cheating. And all of those labels would be very, very much appropriate. Calling
Yes.
him a playboy, an F-boy,
Yes.
a cheater, all of that stuff would be fair game.
But you really are popular, huh? Wait, it was a compliment. And besides, it just means that even though you're really popular, you still wanted to talk to me, right? So,
But we know in the YouTube world,
If someone were to have killed themselves after watching that clip, I would not blame them. because that was just about the most unbearable shit I've ever watched in my entire life.
World, you have to sensationalize everything. You have to apply extreme labels in order to get clicks and to get people to try to click on your slop content. And that's exactly what happened when these creators coordinated with Bao and Mujin to come up with a narrative to label him as a predator and drop this all at once. And this was seen with Mujin's documentary, which dropped within 1 hour of the Google Doc being published. And as you know, when you
fully edited, fully scripted, 1 hour right after. And once again, it's totally fine to work with people behind the scenes and help them get through things. But when you make a expose on someone, you should disclose that. And the problem with Mujin was that he was acting as if he never played any part in this.
We've got these long documentaries that are, an hour, 45 minutes, whatever, however long, that are pre-produced, that are edited. Clearly, those have been worked on for quite a bit of time before they drop. And we can see here in the actual video how he, reading through this, applies that predator label with absolutely no caveat.
Rumors still manage to spread. Many content creators both.
I've dabbled with the idea of actually watching Mujin's videos rather than just a clip. But my problem is I have a soft spot for Mujin because I used to really like this guy. I would consider Mujin and I friends. I admired his content. He admired my content. He actually reached out to me first and asked for a collab. And I said, yeah, sure. You can come on GotchaCast anytime. And this is kind of breaking my heart about a lot of gotcha creators because they're just not who they were when I first met them. And it's just a shame, bro. It's just a shame.
Both big and small would vent to their friends about his behavior. Behind the scenes for many, he'd be known as a predator who regularly took advantage of smaller and or vulnerable content creators. The reason why Sykkuno would abruptly stop hanging out with certain people throughout the years is because of this predatory behavior. However, he'd managed to keep enough influential friends around him to legitimize his position in the space, especially seeing that many of those friends were women who would have normally stood in solidarity with any sort of victim, making it seem like he was safe enough to trust because they trusted him enough to be a friend. As Elphilia spoke with Sykkuno, she'd tell him about rumors that she had heard from someone else, about how Sykkuno had a roster of readily available women, and how they all coincidentally were smaller content creators who wouldn't dare touch him if something went wrong.
So let's
male feminists are a plague on this earth.
stop there and just examine that. Once again, you see Mujin without any caveat or anything, reading through this, applying that predatory label. Once again, just kind of reading the Google Doc with absolutely no analysis or brain cells applied and just saying, yeah, that's totally.
And that kind of is the problem, is that Mujin kind of lacks the mental wherewithal in order to do these exposés that he has, by some miracle of God, blown up for, when in reality, all he does is just read a Google Doc verbatim with no webcam, and because he uses a VTube avatar, the VTube community has blindly accepted him and pushed him to the top. When in reality, when was the last time you read a Mujin video and was like, oh yeah, that changed my opinion? It's like, at this point, his channel is just TTS. That's pretty much it.
Totally accurate. That's totally a good.
His entire channel is TTS, the woman is always right, the woman is always the victim. Find me a video of Mujin's where a man is the victim of a woman. Challenge impossible.
Application of the word predator, and that's totally fine. And just because, once again, this guy had a roster of women and they happen to be smaller VTubers. Once again, making that argument that because you somehow have less viewers, that makes you less of a human being. So the reason why this is problematic is we live in a post-Depp versus Heard world where we now have to question these Me Too accusations. And make no mistake, this is a VTuber Me Too type accusation. And look at them a little bit harder to say, okay, is there kind of fault applying on both sides? Is there some reason why we should look at this in a different light? And in this case, there definitely is. Because if you look at this and look at the reaction to this, you see people pushing back against
W. Nicholas Light for always standing on business. I fucking love that guy.
It's this narrative, such as this comment by Nicholas Light saying, read the whole document, just move the F on, dangerous predator, go give me a break. And another response here, so by your logic, women who monkey branch and cheat are also dangerous predators.
There it is.
Some fair criticism there.
Very fair.
Especially when you look at the
I've never seen a Mujin video where he put any fault on the woman, ever.
evidence that these individuals,
Unless that was already the pre-established public narrative.
Individuals, these small content creators, were not ones that he went out of the way to approach, but ones that slid into his DMs. So these content creators, these small content creators, were indeed out there hoping to catch the prey, as in
calling him a predator and then bolding the 15-year age gap. You were trying to paint him as a dangerous pedophile, and you know what you were doing. You know what you were doing.
The larger content creator that they were searching for.
Because you're both legal, so why are you bringing that up?
And it's very interesting the juxtaposition they apply here, particularly when they also apply the age gap analysis.
Yep.
So they say, hey, there was this age gap against as well, and that was predatory.
Yep.
Well, you can see an age gap working two ways. Many people find an age gap, and whether it's an older man, older woman, whatever, they find an age gap appealing because an older person can have more emotional stability, they can be more consistent, and certainly they have usually more resources to give. They have
young women find older men attractive because a woman does not want to date a boy. They want to date a man. And they want someone who's wiser, who has more experience, who's more mature, and can take care of them better, because why the f wouldn't they? If you want to act like finances aren't a part of your relationship, except Bonnie, I'm not even going to, oh my God. We're not even going to go there. We're Listen, guys, I'm going to be incredibly fair to Bonnie. Incredibly fair to Bonnie. Until it's confirmed that she was 23, or until it's confirmed that she was 18, I don't feel like talking about it. I don't feel like starting a witch hunt. I want to be fair to her, like I wish the internet was fair to Call Me Carson. And that's the truth. If Bonnie was 18 and the kid was 16, I don't give a fuck. I don't care. 2 years age gap, I don't care. I don't care at all. I don't care. And you shouldn't care either. 2 years is absolutely fucking nothing.
More finances, they can give out money, and that's something that's viewed positively when you're in good with them. But as soon as the narrative flips and as soon as things go negative, now it's manipulation, now it's a power imbalance, now it's economic domination, right?
There it is.
And mind you, none of these funds, this thousands of dollars that were given to these girls, seem to have been returned or given back to kind of make this all right. This is something that, once again, when it was an advantage, it was an advantage, and when it was not, it was not. And we see here some of the backlash also leading to some spurging out by Mujin, the content creator that co-signed and really pushed a lot of this through his documentary, which got millions of views.
Almost 2 million views on a massive coordinated hit piece on Sykkuno. Just call him a cheater, and it's fine. Mujin should honestly put out a public apology for using that term. He really should. And he should clarify it. And he should cut out all parts of the video where he said that, or take the video down. But he won't, because there's no integrity, and all he cares is about staying relevant and getting money. And that's the problem.
Pushing back against Powder, VTuber Powder, who said, can you criticize him for cheating? Absolutely. But never once did I feel manipulated by this dude. He's a huge flirt, but I was incredibly aware of the power dynamic. He was just friendly. He's quite forward with his riz, which I didn't like being around, gave me player vibes. Am I going to flip out on him? No. Usually when someone is like that, they're already talking to multiple people. So she was able to see, hey, this guy's a playboy. This guy might be an F-boy. He might be whatever. I don't like it. I'm out of this situation. She continues to say, I see some women trying to play victim as if they didn't have a brain in the situation. Also throwing the word predator around. I think that's unreasonable. Mujin was never really a reliable narrator. If a larger creator who is friendly asked to play a game with you, would you say no? Very good analysis by Powder, very reasonable, and kind of, once again, she applying a balanced side of agency there. So
yeah, she's showing that if you're a woman and you're retarded, that's your own damn fault. You can't use that as an excuse for everything. It's like these people think, well, I'm just a woman and I'm really dumb, so I didn't know this was happening. Shut the fuck up. Like, these are adult women. These are like 20-year-old women. Like, what are we talking about? What? Like, these aren't like 12-year-olds. Oh, it was 20 years. By the way, these are 20-year-old women that reached out to him first and immediately said, Sykkuno, can we fuck? That was their first message.
Yes, call him a playboy, call him a, an F-boy, whatever, but say, hey, look, you have brain cells that you can apply to this situation, and you should be applying those. Mujin goes back and says, can you criticize him for cheating? Absolutely. But I had no viewers whatsoever and became desperate after trying everything to be relevant. I choose to appeal to people who hate my gender in order to pay rent. Am I going to flip on a serial cheater who had sex with women without telling them that they'd be homewreckers? Of course not. Morals are an obstacle to my income. Mujin was never a reliable narrator, so when his video eventually comes out about me being canceled by my audience for secretly having dated a black guy,
which is just like, who cares? I find it so insane because Powder said, I'm a woman and I don't want to be a victim because I'm an adult and I can be in charge of my own responsibilities. Mujin says, I'm going to make a 2 million view expose and try to ruin your life because you fucked a black guy. Like, what are we talking about? Like, this is the most psychotic shit ever because Mujin wanted this woman to be more of a victim. And I think that it's insane when your stance is, well, I really wish you got sexually assaulted. That way I can seem like more of a hero to my audience. Like, this is straight up deranged behavior where a woman says, I'm not a victim. I'm okay. I'm responsible for my own actions. Yeah, hey, you cry victim right now. What are we doing? What are we doing? Love Kirsch's quote retweet on that one. I know.
Even though I kept saying I can't stand minorities, please don't trust him. Also, English is my first language, and I have no idea that predator can mean a person or organization that uses weaker people for their own advantage. But it's okay. My audience gobbles up anything I say, dumbass simps. Well, I don't think Mujin should be using the word simp. And you can see in that.
Oh, man. Just sneaking that one in. Just sneaking that in. Little jab. Right to the gut. Little jab. Yep. True. Big true. Yeah, that's pretty true. Based.
He applies the most favorable definition of predator for him. He goes and says, well, we're just looking at this as weaker people, right? And once again, there's a huge debate on whether or not these people are actually, quote unquote, weaker overall, as a whole, just based on the fact that perhaps they have lower sub count, perhaps there's an age gap, that somehow makes them weaker. Well, it doesn't necessarily make it predatory. And if we look at the core legal definition, and this is what I want to focus on, because when we use this in the context of dating, especially a man dating a woman, it could be a woman dating a man, but when we use this in a dating context, online for an individual, we all know the definition that people are going to assume with predator.
Absolutely.
And that is actually the legal definition, which is legally a sexual predator is a person who has committed one or more severe sexual offenses and is determined to pose a continuing danger to others. This designation is formalized under statutes as a SVP, sexually violent predator laws, which exist in many U.S. jurisdictions. To qualify as a predator, you have to have a conviction for a sexually violent offense, such as aggravated sexual assault, child abuse, or trafficking minors for be found by a court to have a mental abnormality or a personality disorder that predisposes them to future violent acts, and undergo psychological evaluation and expert testimony to assess the likelihood of recidivism. Obviously, this is the definition that they were hoping to get the clicks. They were hoping to get the engagement. They were hoping to push
100%.
this definition, not the other tame one. That's playing that down, and that's really undercutting what they meant here. So here's my judgment. In judgment, cheating and dishonesty are bad and can be condemned. It's very right if you want to come out and call someone a cheater or judge their morality. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah, call someone a cheater if that's what they did. That's fine.
And I don't think anyone would have had any problem with this if that's where it stopped. And once again, I don't really care one way or another about Sykkuno, and calling him a cheater, labeling him as this or that, that's fine. And the real victim in this is his girlfriend, who really knew nothing about this.
Not just the real victim. The only victim in this entire situation is the girlfriend. That's it.
And was exposed to this information at the end. And also at the end, she's having to deal with this fallout, which may or may not have been with her consent. The documentary, all this expose that was put out. she's really the only one here that's kind of the innocent party that everyone should feel bad for. But use of the term predator is potentially defamatory, and it dilutes the criminal meaning. This is similar we see on the internet to the use of the word PDF. I think you guys can see that there.
Yep.
Or the use of the word abuser. All of these words should be out of the lexicon, out of the internet lexicon in application to individuals, unless they are going down that criminal track, unless they're going down the path of actual criminality, right?
True.
There are real predators out there that can be called out, that are committing sex crimes, that are abusing children, all that sort of stuff, and that is very much justified. But as there's no police report, no lawsuits, there's no business using this criminal language. But I want to,
I absolutely agree.
I want to know what you guys think about the Sykkuno situation. Let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you on the next one.
Absolutely ridiculous, and these people should be ashamed that they're not correcting the record, because their ego and their pride and their clicks are more valuable to them than the sanctity and the ability to actually hold criminals accountable and to not slander those who committed no wrongdoing. Absolutely fucked up by Mujin and the parties involved with Mujin, like Bao and Hemomal. Disgusting.